I watched my mother's lips curve into that familiar smirk as she leaned back in her chair at the upscale brunch restaurant. The words hit me like ice water. "You're lucky we even include you, Christina. Pity goes a long way." Around the table, my brother Derek chuckled while his wife Amanda scrolled through her phone, barely acknowledging the cruelty. My teenage nephew Tyler shifted uncomfortably in his seat. I took a slow sip of my coffee, forcing my expression to remain neutral, even as my heart hammered against my ribs. 24 years of trying to earn my place in this family, and this was what I got. But as I set down my cup, something shifted inside me. I smiled back at Patricia, knowing something she didn't. Tonight, everything would change. The drive home from brunch felt like moving through fog. My hands gripped the steering wheel as Patricia's words echoed in my mind. Pity. After everything I had done for this family, everything I had sacrificed, they saw me as a charity case. I had been 8 years old when the car accident took my birth parents on a rainy Tuesday night. The Thompson family had opened their home to me, and I had spent every day since trying to prove I deserved their love. Patricia Thompson, with her perfectly styled blonde hair and cold blue eyes, had always made it clear that I was different. Not quite family, not quite outsider. Derek, 3 years older, had learned early to follow her lead in treating me like an inconvenience. But I had fought for my place. Straight A's through high school, full scholarship to Northwestern for finance MBA with honors. While Derek bounced between failed startups and get-rich-quick schemes, I had built a successful career as a financial advisor. When the family needed someone to manage their investments and trust funds, I had volunteered eagerly. Finally, a way to be useful, to be needed. The mountain cabin in Colorado had been my salvation. Dad, my adoptive father, had left it to me in his will 3 years ago. 27 acres of pristine wilderness, a 4-bedroom log home with panoramic views of the Rockies. He had squeezed my hand on his deathbed and whispered, "This is your anchor, sweetheart. Never forget you belong somewhere." But the family had moved in like they owned it. Derek brought his drinking buddies for fishing trips. Amanda staged photo shoots for her Instagram wellness brand. Patricia hosted her real estate clients for rustic networking events. They used my refuge like their personal resort, leaving messes, breaking furniture, treating my inheritance like community property. I pulled into my downtown Denver condo and sat in the parking garage, finally allowing the tears to come. 24 years of trying to earn what should have been freely given. 24 years of being grateful for scraps while I handed them everything. My phone buzzed. A text from Derek. "Mom was just having a bad day. You know how she gets. Don't be so dramatic." Dramatic. I scrolled through my banking app, looking at the family accounts I managed. Derek's credit card, which I had been paying for 6 months while he got back on his feet. Amanda's business account, funded by my personal savings. Patricia's mortgage, which I had quietly helped with during the housing market downturn. Tyler's college fund, which I had been contributing to since he was born. They saw pity. I saw years of exploitation. But as I sat there in the dim garage, my phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. The voice on the other end changed everything. "Ms. Thompson, this is James Mitchell from Rocky Mountain Mining Corporation. We've been trying to reach you for months about the mineral rights survey on your Colorado property. I'm afraid we have some urgent news about what we discovered under your land." Monday morning at my office felt different. The familiar routine of client meetings and portfolio reviews seemed surreal after James Mitchell's phone call. The mining company's survey had revealed something extraordinary. Beneath my mountain property, a copper deposit estimated to be worth between $8 and $12 million. I stared at the geological reports spread across my desk. Dad had always joked about striking it rich someday, but he had never known how prophetic his words would be. The irony wasn't lost on me. While my family treated me like a burden, I was sitting on a fortune that would make their petty cruelties irrelevant. My phone rang. Derek's name flashed on the screen. Hey sis, I hate to ask, but I've got this incredible opportunity. There's this cryptocurrency venture and I just need 15,000 to get in on the ground floor. I know you've got it sitting around. Sitting around. As if my money materialized from thin air instead of years of 60-hour work weeks and careful investment strategies. I'm actually in a meeting, Derek. Can we talk later? Come on, Christina. Family helps family, right? You know I'm good for it. Good for it. He still owed me 32,000 from his last 3 opportunities, but I had always said yes before, afraid that saying no would give them more reasons to exclude me. I'll think about it, I said, ending the call. Within minutes, my phone buzzed with a text from Patricia. Just wanted to check on you after yesterday. You seemed upset. We should have lunch this week and talk. Lunch, where she would explain how I had misunderstood her words, how I was too sensitive, how I needed to develop thicker skin if I wanted to be part of this family. The same script we had performed dozens of times over the years. I opened Amanda's Instagram account and felt my stomach clench. She had posted a series of photos from the cabin over the weekend, showing her doing yoga poses on my deck, meditating by my fireplace, preparing organic smoothies in my kitchen. The captions were all about finding peace in our family sanctuary and the importance of generational wealth in shared spaces. Our family sanctuary, my father's gift to me, turned into content for her lifestyle brand. But it was the notification about a missed call from my lawyer that sent cold dread through my chest. Margaret Chen had left a voicemail. Christina, we need to talk immediately. Someone has been making inquiries about your inheritance and asking about the legal validity of your adoption papers. Call me as soon as you get this. I called her back immediately, my hands shaking as I dialed. Margaret, what's going on? I received a call from another attorney this morning. They're asking very specific questions about your father's will and whether adopted children have the same inheritance rights as biological ones. They also asked about the timeline of your adoption and whether there were any irregularities in the process. Who would be asking these questions? They wouldn't say, but this feels like someone is building a case to challenge your inheritance. Do you have any idea who might want to contest your father's will? I thought about Derek's sudden friendliness, Patricia's desire for lunch, the way they had all been spending more time at the cabin lately, the family intervention Derek had mentioned casually last month, the one where they wanted to discuss property sharing and family equity. I think I might, I said, ending the call with a promise to meet with Margaret first thing Tuesday morning. That evening, I drove to a coffee shop across town and logged into the family's shared cloud account. Dad had set it up years ago for sharing photos and staying connected, but Derek had been using it for more than pictures. I scrolled through months of chat logs between Derek, Amanda, and Patricia. The messages made my blood run cold. Derek, 2 weeks ago. She's getting suspicious about the money. We need to move faster on the cabin situation. Amanda. Maybe if we make her feel more included, she won't be so possessive about everything. Patricia. I've always said adopting her was a mistake. She acts like she owns everything that rightfully belongs to Derek. Derek. The lawyer says if we can prove emotional instability or that the adoption wasn't properly finalized, we might have a case, especially if we can show she's been making poor financial decisions. Amanda. Getting it all on record at brunch yesterday was smart. Tyler felt bad about it, but he understands this is for his future. My vision blurred as I read message after message planning my emotional destruction, treating my pain like a legal strategy. Tyler. My sweet nephew, who I had tutored through algebra and taken to baseball games, had been coached to participate in my humiliation. But it was the final message thread that broke something fundamental inside me. Patricia. James Mitchell from the mining company called Derek today. Apparently, there might be minerals under the property. If we can get partial ownership established before any mining contracts are signed, we're talking about serious money. Derek already scheduled a meeting with him for Thursday, told him I co-own the property with my sister. He doesn't need to know the legal details yet. Thursday was 3 days away. Derek was planning to steal my mineral rights by lying to the mining company about ownership. While I had been agonizing over their cruelty at brunch, they had been executing a plan to rob me of millions. Tuesday morning arrived gray and drizzling, matching my mood perfectly. I sat in Margaret's law office at 8 o'clock sharp, my laptop bag heavy with printed evidence of my family's betrayal. Before we discuss the inheritance challenge, I said, sliding the printed messages across her polished desk, you need to see what they've really been planning. Margaret's expression darkened as she read through the chat logs. Her pen tapped against her legal pad in an increasingly rapid rhythm. This is fraud, Christina. Your brother is planning to misrepresent ownership of your property to steal mineral rights worth millions. We need to contact the mining company immediately and make sure they know Derek has no legal claim to your land. What about the inheritance challenge? Based on what I'm seeing here, they don't have a leg to stand on. Your adoption was completely legitimate, processed through proper channels with all necessary documentation. Your father was of sound mind when he drafted his will, and you are legally his daughter with full inheritance rights. They're fishing for problems that don't exist. I felt a mixture of relief and rage. Relief that my legal position was solid, rage that they had put me through this emotional torture for nothing. What do you recommend? We go on the offensive, document everything, protect your assets, and make sure your family understands the legal consequences of their actions. I left Margaret's office with a clear action plan and drove straight to my workplace. But when I arrived, Derek's pickup truck was already in the visitor parking area. Through the glass doors, I could see him in the lobby with Patricia, Amanda, and Tyler. They had coordinated another ambush. I walked through the doors with my head high, nodding politely to my receptionist, Karen. Good morning, everyone. This is unexpected. Derek stood up, his face serious and paternal. Christina, we need to talk. All of us together. Patricia dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. Sweetheart, we're worried about you. Your behavior lately has been so concerning. Amanda held Tyler's hand like he was a prop in their performance. We love you, but this possessiveness about money and property isn't healthy. We think you need help. My nephew avoided eye contact, clearly uncomfortable with his assigned role. I gestured toward the small conference room adjacent to the lobby. Of course, let's talk privately. Once the door closed, Derek took charge of their rehearsed presentation. We've been discussing your emotional state as a family, and we think you're having some kind of breakdown. This obsession with the cabin, the way you reacted at brunch, your financial paranoia. We love you, but you need professional help. Patricia leaned forward with practiced concern. Your father would want us to intervene before you do something you'll regret. We think you should consider signing the cabin over to shared family ownership. Derek could handle the management responsibilities while you focus on healing. Amanda nodded earnestly. We could turn it into a real family retreat, maybe even a business opportunity. I've already had inquiries from wellness companies about using the space for corporate events. Tyler finally spoke, his young voice shaking slightly. And Christina, we just want you to be happy. Maybe sharing the cabin would help you feel less stressed about everything. I looked around the room at their expectant faces. Derek's greedy eagerness barely concealed behind fake concern. Patricia's cold calculation disguised as maternal love. Amanda's opportunistic excitement dressed up as family unity. And Tyler, 17 years old and being manipulated into participating in financial abuse. This is very touching, I said calmly. You've clearly put a lot of thought into my mental health. Tell me, Derek, does this concern extend to your meeting with Rocky Mountain Mining Corporation on Thursday? The color drained from his face. I don't know what you're talking about. The meeting where you plan to claim co-ownership of my property to steal mineral rights worth millions of dollars. Amanda's eyes widened. Mineral rights! Patricia's mask slipped for just a moment, revealing raw fury before snapping back into place. Christina, I think your paranoia is worse than we thought. I pulled out my phone and began reading directly from their chat messages. Derek, 2 weeks ago. She's getting suspicious about the money. We need to move faster on the cabin situation. Patricia, I've always said adopting her was a mistake. Tyler's hand flew to his mouth. Grandma, you said that… Amanda, I continued, you wrote, getting it all on record at brunch yesterday was smart. Tyler felt bad about it, but he understands this is for his future. Derek lunged forward, reaching for my phone. Where did you get those messages? I stepped back smoothly from the family cloud account Dad set up, the one you've been using to coordinate my emotional destruction for months. The room fell silent except for Tyler's shaky breathing. When he spoke, his voice cracked with teenage betrayal. You guys planned that whole thing at brunch. You made me watch you hurt her on purpose. Patricia reached for him. Tyler, sweetheart, you don't understand adult situations. I understand enough, he said, standing up abruptly. Aunt Christina, I'm sorry. I didn't know they were lying to me about everything. Amanda tried to salvage the situation. We can explain everything. There are things you don't know, family finances that are complicated. What I know, I said, opening my laptop, is that Derek has been recording this conversation. Derek's hand moved instinctively to his jacket pocket, where a small recording device was clearly visible. You plan to use this as evidence of my mental instability to support your inheritance challenge. Unfortunately for you, you've just recorded yourselves admitting to fraud and conspiracy. The room erupted. Derek demanded I hand over the evidence. Patricia accused me of betraying family trust. Amanda frantically typed on her phone, probably alerting her social media manager about potential crisis management needs. But Tyler stood up and walked to my side of the table. I want to go home with Aunt Christina, he said quietly. Tyler, sit down, Patricia snapped. No, I'm 17. I can choose who I want to be around, and I don't want to be around people who plan to hurt someone and then lie about it. I looked at my nephew's earnest face, seeing the man he was becoming despite his family's influence. Derek, I said, closing my laptop, your meeting with Rocky Mountain Mining is canceled. I've already spoken with them about your fraudulent claims. Patricia, your concerns about my mental health are noted but irrelevant since I'm legally competent and protected by excellent attorneys. Amanda, your wellness business needs to find new locations since you're banned from my property, effective immediately. Derek's face turned purple. You can't cut us off like this. We're family. Family, I repeated softly. You keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means. If you do this, Patricia said, her voice dropping to a threatening whisper, there's no coming back. We'll never forgive you. I looked around the room one more time, memorizing this moment when everything changed. I'm counting on it. Wednesday morning brought clarity like fresh mountain air. I arrived at my office 2 hours early and spread every piece of documentation across my conference table like a general planning a campaign. Bank statements, loan agreements, credit card accounts, property deeds, chat logs, and legal opinions created a paper landscape of 24 years of financial manipulation. Margaret arrived at 9 with her paralegal and a forensic accountant named Robert Steinberg. We spent 4 hours creating a comprehensive record of every dollar I had contributed to my family's lifestyle since beginning my career. The total is staggering, Robert said, adjusting his glasses as he reviewed the calculations. Over 3 years, you've provided approximately $167,000 in direct support, not including the cabin usage, which we estimate at another $40,000 in rental value. Margaret took notes steadily. We need to document every instance of unauthorized property use, every loan that wasn't repaid, every credit card payment you made on their behalf. If they want to claim you're financially irresponsible, we'll show exactly where your money went. My phone rang constantly throughout the morning. Derek called 6 times. Patricia left increasingly frantic voicemails. Amanda sent a series of text messages ranging from angry to pleading to threatening. I ignored them all, focused on building an unshakable foundation of evidence. At lunch, I met with James Mitchell from Rocky Mountain Mining at an upscale restaurant downtown. He was younger than I had expected, maybe 35, with the confident bearing of someone who had struck several deals like this before. Miss Thompson, I have to say yesterday's conversation with your brother was quite enlightening. We had no idea he was misrepresenting his ownership status. What exactly did he tell you? James consulted his notes. He claimed to co-own the property with you and suggested you were having financial difficulties that might require a quick sale. He asked about expediting the surveying process and wanted to know about immediate cash advances against future mining rights. My coffee cup rattled as I set it down harder than intended. Derek had been planning to steal my mineral rights and potentially sell them without my knowledge. Mr. Mitchell, to be absolutely clear, I am the sole owner of that property. Derek Thompson has no legal claim to any portion of the land or mineral rights. We understand that now. In fact, your attorney's call yesterday helped clarify several concerning aspects of Mr. Thompson's approach. We're prepared to move forward with you directly, assuming you're interested in developing the site. The numbers James presented made my head spin. An initial payment of $2 million for exclusive rights, followed by quarterly royalty payments that could range from $50,000 to $200,000 depending on market conditions and extraction volume. Conservative estimates suggested 8 to 10 years of profitable mining with total compensation reaching $12 million. Derek had been planning to steal enough money to fund several lifetimes of luxury. I'm definitely interested in moving forward, I told James. My attorneys will review the contract terms, but this seems like an excellent opportunity. After the meeting, I drove to the cabin to document its current condition. The evidence of my family's disrespect was everywhere. Empty beer bottles in the fire pit from Derek's friends. Furniture moved around for Amanda's photography sessions. Dirty dishes left in the sink from their last visit. A broken window in the guest bedroom that no one had bothered to mention or repair. But it was the folder I found on the kitchen counter that revealed the final layer of their betrayal. Inside were printouts of real estate listings for luxury mountain properties, notes about selling prices in the area, and a handwritten page in Derek's messy scrawl, property development potential. Guest cabins, event venue, corporate retreat center. Estimated investment needed $500,000. Projected income $1.5 million annually. Derek had been planning to turn my sanctuary into a commercial venture without my permission or knowledge. He had researched zoning changes, talked to contractors, and calculated profit margins for a business built on land he didn't own, with money he planned to steal. I photographed everything and called Margaret immediately. They're not just trying to steal the mineral rights, I told her. They're planning to commercialize the entire property. That's actually good news for us legally. It demonstrates clear intent to defraud and helps establish the scope of their conspiracy. How do you want to proceed? I stood on my deck, looking out over the mountains that represented everything my father had wanted to give me: peace, security, and a place where I truly belonged. We go nuclear, I said. Thursday evening, I sat in my condo with 3 laptops open, executing the most satisfying project of my financial career. Every credit card I had guaranteed for family members was canceled with immediate effect. Every loan I had co-signed was being called in for full repayment within 30 days. Every bank account I managed was being closed and transferred to accounts they couldn't access. Derek's credit card was declined at Morton's Steakhouse while he entertained potential business partners for another failed venture. Amanda's scheduled payment for her upcoming wellness retreat in Tulum was rejected, forcing her to explain to 25 clients why their bookings were canceled. Patricia's automatic payment for her BMW lease bounced, triggering late fees and threatening her pristine credit rating. My phone exploded with calls and texts, but I was ready for their response. The conference call came at 8:30, all of them connected and shouting over each other in panicked fury. "Christina, what the hell is wrong with you?" Derek's voice was strained and desperate. "Oh, fix this right now," Patricia demanded. "You're destroying everyone's credit rating out of spite." "My clients are threatening to sue me," Amanda wailed. "Do you have any idea how much money I'm going to lose because of your tantrum?" I let them exhaust themselves before responding calmly. "I've simply stopped paying for lifestyles I never agreed to fund. Every one of you is now responsible for your own financial obligations, just like every other adult in America." "We're family," Derek pleaded. "Families support each other." "Oh, families don't plan inheritance challenges against each other. Families don't lie to mining companies about property ownership. Families don't coordinate emotional abuse and call it intervention." The line went quiet for a moment before Patricia's voice cut through with icy precision. "If you continue this path, you'll be completely alone. No family, no support, no one who cares about you. Is that really what you want?" Before I could answer, another voice joined the call, male, familiar, and completely unexpected. "Actually, I think she's being incredibly smart about protecting herself." My blood turned to ice water. Marcus Rodriguez, my ex-boyfriend who had broken up with me 8 months ago for being too focused on family obligations. "Marcus," I whispered, "why are you on this call?" Derek cleared his throat uncomfortably. "We thought it might help to have someone you trust mediate this situation." "What's someone I trust?" My voice rose several octaves. "Marcus broke up with me because he said I cared more about you people than our relationship." "He was trying to help you see how unhealthy your family dynamics were," Amanda said quickly. "We've all been working together to figure out what's best for you." The pieces clicked into place with devastating clarity. Marcus had been feeding information to my family about my emotional state, my financial decisions, my insecurities about belonging. Every private conversation, every vulnerable moment, every tear I had shed about feeling unloved had been reported back to the people who were planning to exploit those weaknesses. "How long?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Christina, it's not what you think," Marcus said, but his guilty tone confirmed my worst fears. "How long have you been spying on me for them?" Silence stretched across the call until Derek finally answered. Since about 3 months before we broke up. Marcus contacted me because he was concerned about your spending on family and thought we should all work together to help you establish healthier boundaries." 3 months of intimate conversations while my boyfriend reported my words to people planning to steal from me. 3 months of fake sympathy while he gathered intelligence for their conspiracy. 8 months of believing I had lost someone who loved me when the truth was he had never loved me at all. "Christina, please," Marcus said. "I know it sounds bad, but we all care about you." I ended the call without another word and sat in my quiet condo, finally understanding the true scope of their betrayal. My family, my ex-boyfriend, probably others I hadn't discovered yet. A network of manipulation designed to keep me grateful, insecure, and financially generous. But they had made one critical error in their calculations. They had pushed someone who understood money and law and systematic planning past the point where love could overcome self-preservation. Friday evening arrived with the artificial calm that precedes devastating storms. I had spent the day in meetings with Margaret Robert, the forensic accountant, and representatives from Rocky Mountain Mining Corporation, finalizing contracts that would change my life forever. The mineral rights agreement was signed, witnessed, and legally bulletproof. The first payment of $2 million would be transferred to my account within 72 hours. But money was only part of my strategy. At exactly 7 o'clock, I initiated the second phase of my response plan. Every automatic payment, every credit line, every financial safety net I had quietly provided my family over the years disappeared simultaneously. The timing was surgical, calculated to create maximum disruption during their most vulnerable moments. Derek's first panicked call came at 7:15. My card was just declined at Jean-Georges. I'm here with investors for the cryptocurrency deal and they think I'm broke. Fix this right now. Your card was declined because it's canceled, Derek. As of today, you're responsible for your own expenses. Are you insane? These people control millions in investment capital. You just destroyed my credibility. Your credibility destroyed itself when you tried to steal mineral rights worth $12 million. The line went dead, but my phone immediately rang with Amanda's number. Christina, please tell me this is some kind of mistake. The payment for my Tulum retreat just bounced, and I have 25 clients who already booked flights. My business will be ruined if I can't honor these commitments. Your business was built on money you never earned, Amanda. Time to learn about actual profit and loss. You're destroying my children's future out of pure spite. I'm stopping my subsidization of your lifestyle. There's a difference. Patricia called next, her voice tight with controlled fury. I don't know what kind of breakdown you're having, but this ends now. You will restore every account, every payment, every arrangement we had. This family will not be humiliated because of your emotional instability. This family humiliated itself, Patricia. I'm just stopping my participation in the charade. Derek told me about your mining windfall. You think money makes you untouchable, but family is forever. We'll see how long your independence lasts when you realize how alone you are. I'd rather be alone with dignity than surrounded by people who see me as an ATM. By 9 o'clock, my phone was buzzing constantly with calls, texts, and voicemails ranging from desperate to threatening. But it was the group video call that truly revealed the depth of their desperation. All 4 of them appeared on screen. Derek from his car outside the restaurant where his business dinner had collapsed. Amanda from her home office surrounded by crisis management paperwork. Patricia from her real estate office working late to handle the financial emergency. And Tyler from his bedroom looking confused and upset. Aunt Christina, Tyler said before anyone else could speak, can you please just tell me what's really happening? Everyone's acting crazy and no one will explain anything honestly. Derek tried to take control. Your aunt is having some kind of mental health crisis and making decisions that hurt the whole family. Actually, I said, looking directly at Tyler through the camera, I discovered that your family has been planning for months to steal my property and mineral rights. They've been lying to you about their reasons for treating me badly. That's not true, Patricia snapped. We've been trying to help her understand healthy family dynamics. I continued, did you know your dad has been working with my ex-boyfriend Marcus to gather information about my personal life and finances? Tyler's eyes widened. What dad is that true? Derek's face flushed red. It's complicated, son. We were worried about her and Marcus was helping us understand her emotional state. You mean you were spying on her? Amanda jumped in. We were protecting family interests. Christina has been making increasingly erratic financial decisions that affect all of us. Like what? Tyler demanded. Like cutting off our credit cards without warning, Derek said. Like refusing to share property that should belong to the whole family. Like prioritizing money over relationships. Tyler was quiet for a moment, processing the competing narratives. When he spoke, his teenage directness cut through the adult manipulation like a knife. Wait, so Aunt Christina pays for everyone's stuff, but you're mad at her for stopping, and you worked with her ex-boyfriend to spy on her because you wanted her property. How is she the bad guy in this story? You're too young to understand complex family finances, Patricia said dismissively. I'm old enough to understand lying and stealing, Tyler shot back, and it sounds like that's what you guys were doing. That's when Derek played his final, most desperate card. Christina, since you want everything out in the open, maybe Tyler should know about your relationship with Marcus. Maybe he should know how you've been secretly communicating with him about family business. My blood went cold. What are you talking about? Derek's smile was ugly and triumphant. Marcus has been recording your conversations for months. Every time you called him crying about feeling excluded, every time you shared private family information, every vulnerable moment when you talked about your adoption insecurities. We have recordings of you discussing our financial situations, our personal problems, everything you learned in confidence as our financial advisor. The room spun around me. Not only had Marcus betrayed me emotionally, but Derek was threatening to use our private conversations as evidence against me professionally. You recorded private conversations without my consent. Marcus recorded them. Derek clarified with legal precision. We just happened to benefit from his concern about your stability. Amanda leaned into her camera. We have hours of audio proving you've been sharing confidential client information and making emotional decisions based on personal grievances rather than professional judgment. Your career could be over, Patricia added softly. Professional ethics violations, breach of fiduciary duty, emotional instability affecting client relationships. Unless, of course, we all agree to put this unfortunate episode behind us and return to our normal family arrangements. They had cornered me perfectly, either restore their financial support and abandon my legal protections, or watch them destroy my professional reputation with recordings of my most vulnerable moments. I looked at Tyler's face on the screen, seeing the dawning horror as he realized what his family was really capable of. So, I said slowly, to summarize, you planned to steal my inheritance, lied to mining companies, coordinated with my ex-boyfriend to spy on me, and now you're threatening to destroy my career unless I continue funding your lifestyles. We prefer to think of it as family looking out for family, Derek said. That's when I smiled for the first time in days. Actually, Derek, I prefer to think of it as evidence. I held up my phone showing the red recording indicator. This entire conversation has been recorded and automatically backed up to cloud storage. Every threat, every admission of conspiracy, every detail about your illegal recordings. My attorney will be very interested to hear how you obtained private recordings and planned to use them for extortion. The silence on the call was deafening. Moreover, I continued, Marcus contacted me this afternoon to confess everything and offer his cooperation in exchange for immunity from prosecution. Apparently, his conscience finally kicked in when he realized you were planning to use his recordings for blackmail. Derek's face went white. That's impossible. He's already provided copies of all recordings to my legal team, along with detailed written testimony about how you recruited him, what information you asked him to gather, and how you plan to use it against me. Turns out, he's not as comfortable with criminal conspiracy as you assumed. Patricia's professional composure finally cracked completely. You vindictive little bitch, after everything we've done for you. What you've done for me, I said quietly, is teach me exactly who I can trust. And Tyler, if you're listening, the answer is nobody on this call except you. I ended the video chat and sat back in my chair, finally understanding that the war I had been trying to avoid was already over. I had won before they even realized they were fighting someone who had learned their tactics and resources and ruthless determination by watching them use it against me for 24 years. Saturday morning brought an unexpected visitor to my doorstep. Margaret Chen stood in my hallway at 8 o'clock sharp, carrying a manila envelope and wearing the expression of someone who had discovered something significant. We need to talk immediately, she said. What I found last night changes everything about your family situation. I made coffee while Margaret arranged documents across my dining table. The papers looked official, legal, and somehow familiar. After yesterday's recorded conversation, I decided to dig deeper into the background of your adoption and your father's estate planning. I contacted the social services office that handled your case 24 years ago. Is there a problem with my adoption paperwork? Quite the opposite. There's something your adoptive father arranged that Patricia never told you about. Something that explains a lot about her resentment toward you. Margaret opened the envelope and withdrew a thick stack of documents. Your adoptive father, William Thompson, established a protected trust fund specifically for you when you turned 18. The fund was designed to be activated only under certain circumstances, particularly if Patricia ever challenged your place in the family or attempted to exclude you from inheritance rights. I stared at the papers, recognizing my father's signature on legal documents I had never seen. How much money are we talking about? $2 million plus 18 years of compound interest. The current value is approximately $3.4 million. My coffee cup clattered to the table. $3.4 million. William suspected Patricia might resent your inheritance and wanted to ensure you had independent financial security. He also included a letter to be opened only if the trust was activated. Margaret handed me a sealed envelope with my name, written in my father's familiar handwriting. Inside was a 3-page letter that shattered every assumption I had held about my place in the Thompson family. My dearest Christina, it began. If you are reading this letter, it means Patricia has done exactly what I feared she would do. I need you to know the truth about your adoption and why some members of this family have never fully accepted you. My hands shook as I continued reading. When your birth parents died, you were not randomly placed with our family. Your biological father, Michael Santos, was my business partner and closest friend. Before the accident, Michael asked me to promise that if anything ever happened to him, I would raise you as my own daughter. You are not here because of charity or luck, Christina. You are here because of love, friendship, and a sacred promise between fathers. The words blurred as tears filled my eyes. Patricia resented this arrangement from the beginning. She wanted to adopt through traditional channels where she could choose a child that fit better with our family image. She never wanted you specifically, and I'm afraid she has never forgiven me for prioritizing honor and friendship over her preferences. I had to stop reading for a moment, overwhelmed by the revelation that my entire understanding of my origin story was wrong. Patricia knows about this trust fund, Christina. She has known since the day it was established. She also knows that activating it means she loses any influence over your financial decisions and emotional well-being. This is why she has worked so hard to keep you grateful and insecure. A confident, financially independent Christina is Patricia's worst nightmare. Margaret waited quietly while I processed this information. There's more, she said gently. The trust documents include copies of correspondence between your father and Patricia about your adoption. She tried multiple times to convince him to place you with another family, claiming it would be better for everyone if you had a fresh start somewhere else. She tried to get rid of me. Your father refused every suggestion. His letters make it clear that he considered you his daughter from the moment he signed the adoption papers, and he was prepared to divorce Patricia if she continued trying to undermine your place in the family. I thought about Dad's deathbed promise about the cabin being my anchor, how he had squeezed my hand and insisted I belonged somewhere. He hadn't been giving me hope for the future. He had been trying to counteract a lifetime of Patricia's emotional sabotage. Ooh, the trust fund activation requires specific triggers, Margaret continued. Challenge to inheritance rights, attempts to exclude you from family property, or evidence of coordinated family efforts to emotionally or financially manipulate you. Based on yesterday's recorded conversation and the evidence we've gathered this week, all triggers have been definitively met. What does this mean practically? It means you now have access to $3.4 million that Patricia has known about but couldn't touch for years. It means your father anticipated exactly this situation and took steps to protect you. And it means Patricia's behavior toward you has been driven partly by resentment that you were chosen instead of selected, and partly by fear that you would eventually discover your true financial independence. I finished reading the letter, which ended with words that broke and healed my heart simultaneously. You were never the charity case Patricia tried to make you believe you were, sweetheart. You were the daughter my best friend trusted me to raise and the daughter I chose to love every single day. Your place in this family was never dependent on gratitude or performance. It was guaranteed by love law and a father's promise to another father. Margaret gathered the documents while I sat in stunned silence. There's one more thing, she said. Derek's attempt to claim mineral rights has triggered federal fraud investigations. The FBI contacted my office yesterday about his pattern of misrepresenting property ownership to potential business partners. Apparently, your mineral rights weren't his first attempt at this type of scam. Derek is under federal investigation. Multiple victims, multiple properties, multiple misrepresentation schemes. Your case provided the final evidence they needed to move forward with charges. Derek will likely face 5 to 10 years in federal prison for wire fraud and conspiracy. I walked to my window and looked out at the Denver skyline, thinking about Dad's promise that I belonged somewhere. He had been right, but not in the way I had understood. I belonged in the life I had built for myself with people who chose to love me rather than people who resented having to tolerate me. My phone rang with Tyler's number. Aunt Christina, I need to tell you something important. I found out why everyone's been acting so weird about money. What did you find, Tyler? Mom and Dad have been stealing from me too. My college fund that you've been contributing to, they've been using it to pay for Mom's business expenses and Dad's failed investments. There's only about $3,000 left out of the $40,000 that was supposed to be there. The final piece of their financial fraud fell into place. They hadn't just been stealing from me. They had been stealing from their own son. Tyler, I need you to know that none of this is your fault and you're not responsible for their choices. I want to come live with you, he said quietly. I can't stay here anymore. They've been lying about everything and I don't trust them. Looking at the trust fund documents scattered across my table at the evidence of Dad's love and protection reaching across years to save me, I realized that sometimes the most important family bonds are the ones we choose to honor, rather than the ones we're born into. Pack a bag, I told my nephew. Your grandfather would want us to take care of each other. 3 months later, I stood on the deck of my newly renovated cabin, watching Tyler help a crew of contractors install security fencing around the property perimeter. The mountain air carried the sound of construction equipment and the distant voices of workers transforming my sanctuary into something even more meaningful. The legal resolution had been swift and decisive. Derek pleaded guilty to federal fraud charges and received 7 years in prison. Amanda's wellness business collapsed when her deceptive practices were exposed to clients and sponsors. Patricia lost her real estate license after an ethics investigation revealed multiple violations of fiduciary duty and client confidentiality. But the personal transformation had been more profound than any legal victory. The trust fund activation had provided more than financial security. The knowledge that Dad had anticipated and protected against Patricia's manipulation had healed wounds I didn't even know I carried. For 24 years, I had believed I was fighting to earn love that was conditionally offered. Learning that my father's love had been absolute from the beginning changed everything about how I saw myself and my worthiness of belonging. Tyler thrived in his new environment. His grades improved dramatically once removed from the toxic family dynamics, and his natural kindness blossomed without the pressure to participate in manipulation schemes. He would start college in the fall with a fully funded scholarship program I had established in Dad's memory. The cabin had been transformed into a retreat center for adoptive families, offering free weekend programs for children and parents, navigating the complex emotions of building families through love rather than biology. The mining operation provided steady income to fund the programs, creating a sustainable cycle of healing and support. Aunt Christina, Tyler called from the construction site. The contractors want to know if you're ready to see the new guest cabins. I walked down the path to where 3 small but comfortable cabins now stood among the pine trees. Each was designed to house a family participating in our weekend programs with common areas for group activities and quiet spaces for individual reflection. The first family would arrive next weekend, a couple in their 30s who had recently adopted siblings from foster care and were struggling with attachment issues. Their story reminded me of my own journey toward understanding that love can be chosen, nurtured, and protected, even when it doesn't follow traditional patterns. My phone buzzed with a text from James Martinez, the counselor I had been dating for 6 weeks. Looking forward to our dinner tomorrow. Tyler mentioned he wants to show me his science project. James was different from Marcus in every way that mattered. He was honest about his intentions, respectful of my boundaries, and genuinely interested in Tyler's well-being. He worked with adoptive families professionally, so he understood the unique challenges of building love across histories of loss and hope. Our relationship was developing slowly, built on transparency and mutual respect rather than manipulation and information gathering. When I told him about my family situation, he had listened without judgment and offered support without trying to fix everything. When Tyler expressed concerns about trusting new people, James had been patient and consistent in proving his reliability. The most unexpected healing had come through my work with other adoptive families. Sharing my story, helping children understand that their worthiness wasn't dependent on performance or gratitude, teaching parents how to recognize and protect against toxic family dynamics. It transformed my pain into purpose. One of the retreat participants, a 10-year-old girl named Sophie, who had been adopted from China, had asked me a question that crystallized everything. How do you know when you really belong somewhere? I had thought about Dad's promise about the cabin as my anchor, about the trust fund protection, about Tyler choosing to build a life with me despite easier options. You belong somewhere when people choose to love you, not because they have to, but because they want to, I had told her. And when you feel safe enough to be yourself, even when yourself is scared or angry or confused. Sophie had nodded solemnly. Like here. The mountain property now generated income from 3 sources: the mining operation, the retreat center donations, and a small organic farm that supplied food for our programs. But more importantly, it had become a place where people learned that family can be chosen. Love can be unconditional, and belonging doesn't require earning or performing. Patricia had attempted to contact me twice through intermediaries, claiming she wanted to make amends and rebuild family relationships. Both messages had included hints about financial difficulties and suggestions that my success created obligations to help struggling family members. I had responded through my attorney with a clear message: no contact, no reconciliation, no financial assistance. Some bridges once burned completely reveal that the other side wasn't worth crossing in the first place. Marcus had sent a written apology that Margaret reviewed for legal implications before forwarding to me. His letter expressed genuine remorse for his role in the manipulation, explained how Derek had initially approached him with concerns about my family codependency, and detailed how the situation had gradually escalated beyond what he had intended. I had read his apology once and deleted it. Some betrayals are too fundamental to forgive, and some trust, once broken, cannot be repaired regardless of regret or explanation. The federal investigation had expanded beyond Derek's case to examine a broader pattern of inheritance fraud targeting vulnerable family members. My cooperation with the FBI had helped identify 3 other victims and prevent additional crimes. The prosecutor had told me that our evidence was instrumental in securing convictions that would protect other families from similar manipulation. As the sun set over the mountains, Tyler joined me on the deck with 2 cups of hot chocolate and a tablet showing his latest science project. "I'm doing my presentation on geology and mineral extraction," he said. Mr. James helped me understand the environmental impact assessments for our mining operation. What did you learn? That you can take valuable things from the earth without destroying everything around them. It just requires careful planning and respect for the environment. I smiled at the metaphor. That sounds like a good life lesson too. Aunt Christina, do you ever miss them? Even after everything they did? I considered his question carefully. Tyler deserved honesty, but also hope. I miss the idea of them, I said finally. I miss what I thought we could have been together, but I don't miss the reality of who they actually were, or how they chose to treat us. Do you think they'll ever change? I think people can change if they want to badly enough, but wanting to change and actually doing the work to change are different things, and we can't wait around hoping they'll become different people. Tyler nodded thoughtfully. I like the family we've built here. Me too. The evening air carried the scent of pine needles and the distant sound of a stream running toward the valley below. Somewhere in the guest cabins, tomorrow's retreat, families were settling in for their first night in a place designed to help them discover what I had learned, that belonging isn't about blood or obligation or gratitude, but about choice and love and the daily decision to see each other's worth. My phone chimed with a message from Dr. Sarah Kim, the child psychologist who led our weekend programs. Just wanted you to know that the Johnson family from last month sent a card. Their daughter Emma wrote, "Thank you for helping me understand that I was chosen because I'm awesome, not because my parents felt sorry for me. Thought you'd want to see how your story is helping other kids rewrite theirs." I showed the message to Tyler, who grinned widely. "That's exactly what Sophie needed to hear when she was here last weekend," he said. As we sat together watching stars emerge in the darkening sky, I reflected on the journey that had brought us here. 3 months ago, I had been sitting in a brunch restaurant listening to my mother explain that I was included out of pity. Tonight, I was surrounded by chosen family meaningful work and the deep satisfaction of turning pain into purpose. The mountain cabin that Dad had promised would be my anchor had become exactly that. Not because it was a place to hide from difficult relationships, but because it was a place to build authentic ones. Not because it represented escape from family obligations, but because it enabled me to create healthy family connections based on love rather than manipulation. Tomorrow, Tyler would present his science project to classmates who knew him as a confident, well-adjusted teenager, rather than a participant in family dysfunction. Tomorrow, I would welcome new retreat families who needed to learn what I had discovered, that worthiness is inherent, love can be trusted when it's genuine, and the most important, belonging comes from choosing people who choose you back. And tomorrow, the mining operation would continue extracting valuable minerals from deep beneath our mountain, just like we had learned to extract valuable lessons from deep beneath our pain. Have you ever had to make the difficult choice between maintaining family relationships and protecting your own well-being? Sometimes the people who are supposed to love us most are the ones who hurt us deepest. But discovering your own strength in those moments can lead to the most authentic happiness. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. How do you balance family loyalty with self-respect? If this story resonated with you, please give it a like and share it with someone who might need to hear that their worth doesn't depend on other people's approval. Subscribe for more stories about finding strength in difficult situations. And remember that choosing yourself isn't selfish. Sometimes it's the most loving thing you can do for everyone involved. Thank you for listening to my story, and I hope it reminds you that you deserve relationships built on genuine love and respect, not obligation or pity. May you always know that you belong exactly where you are valued for who you truly are.